I'm Dr. Mark Adams, based here at the Queensland University of Technology, within the School of Biomedical Sciences and Faculty of Health, as well as within the Centre of Genomics and Personalised Health. And I've been here for the past decade, and my research focus is on understanding lung cancers. I performed my undergraduate studies here at the Queensland University of Technology. I then progressed on to a PhD where I was based at the Mater Research Institute over at the Mater Hospital. My PhD focus was on prostate cancer, and specifically looking at when the prostate cancer metastasizes or migrates from the primary site within the prostate towards the bone. And so we were interested in developing some drugs that would stop that process. So after finishing my PhD, I moved back to Queensland University of Technology and commenced a postdoctoral fellowship. And here I was looking at lung cancer, and specifically looking at how our genomes and the integrity of our genomes are maintained through a process called DNA repair. Since then, I've been able to successfully attract funding to support my salary through fellowship support from foundations such as Cure Cancer, National Health and Medical Research Council, as well as the Queensland Government. And that's enabled me to grow my team and undertake all our research activities. My research focus is on lung cancer, which is the deadliest of all cancers, not just in Australia, but worldwide. And there's quite a bit of stigma about lung cancer. For example, people will assume that lung cancer commences through smoking. But in actual fact, if you've got lungs, you can get lung cancer. And there's an increasing number of people who are never smokers that are being diagnosed with lung cancer. So one of the reasons why lung cancer is the deadliest of all these diseases, or solid malignancies I should say, is because, and really drives my research, is that not all therapies adequately treat the tumour. So what we're going for is to develop personalised approaches to pinpoint a therapy that's going to be most effective for the person with that disease. So my research is focusing on a couple of this treatment avenues that are available for people living with lung cancer. That is chemotherapy and targeted therapy. And what these targeted therapies do is that they attack tumours with specific mutations that are identified within that tumour. Unfortunately, for a lot of these tumours that are treated with these agents, is that resistance to the therapy is inevitable. So what our research is trying to do is to identify upfront, before the tumour receives therapy, which of those tumours are likely to be resistant to the therapy, and then to identify strategies that will resensitize or increase the sensitivity of that tumour to the standard of care, that is targeted therapy or the chemotherapy. So that is our translational research, and how we're going about doing that is through our basic science discoveries. So what we've been able to do is to employ a variety of techniques such as quantitative proteomics, which is a strategy to identify the levels of proteins that exist within the tumour that might be changed in response to the therapy. So with these approaches and technologies, we've been able to identify a network of proteins that are deregulated in response to the therapy. And we've identified certain proteins within this network that are what we call druggable, or we can target these proteins to stop them from functioning, to inactivate that network of proteins, and then increase the sensitivity of those tumours to the therapy. I've always been fascinated by trying to understand how something works, and certainly biology has always interested me, but in particular understanding cells and the molecular mechanisms underpinning how those cells work. So that's really driven me to the problem of cancer and what's going on in those tumour cells that promotes tumorigenesis, and how might we be able to exploit those mechanisms to improve sensitivity to therapy. So I myself have been touched by cancer. I've had family members that have had cancer diagnoses and have passed away from the disease. So again, using my passion to really understand how something works, I'm really seeking to make a big impact and do my best, not just as an individual, but within a team and a wider group of researchers to target tumours and improve health outcomes for people that are diagnosed with lung cancer. I've got a number of hobbies, one of which is looking after a young family with my wife. We've got 3 kids, all in primary school, so that's a busy undertaking. But outside of doing that, I like to do downhill mountain biking, in the forest. I've got a variety of trails that I like to go down, and usually trying to go as fast as I can without injuring myself. Certainly as I'm getting older, it takes a lot longer to recover from those injuries. But as well as that, I play futsal on Monday nights within a futsal team. And it's a great opportunity to connect with others, build community, and blow off some steam.